Nature is more dangerous than the most savage band of raiders. Deadly creatures lurk in pine forests. Blizzards, snowdrifts can isolate towns and villages for months at a time, and the temperature plummets to a deadly chill during the winter months. Even daylight, the oldest defense against skulking horrors and ghosts, dims as the year ends and dooms people to cuddle around their campfire and stare nervously into the dark. Welcome to the Northlands. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Tarask, and as always, this is your go-to YouTube channel for everything Midgard. And today I want to talk about the Northlands section of the Midgard world by Kobold Press. The reason why is because I absolutely love the region, I love the lore, but it is more scattered around in books from Kobold Press than other regions of the world. To give you an example, this is the Midgard map, and the center of Midgard, so the region around Zobek, the region around the Margrave Forest and the crossroads and everything, there is an entire brand of books basically that are specifically written for that part of the world. Then there are the Southlands, which has just gotten like an entire world book for the Southlands. It got a city book, the City of Cats, for a city in the Southlands. There is like a dedicated brand for the Southlands. There is a dedicated brand for the center of Midgard, but there is so much more to Midgard, and I just want to talk about this region of the world, which is called the Northlands. And I have my Midgard world book open right here, as you can see, which is the entire section on the Northlands. I will not be reading this out loud to you. The thing I just want to talk about a few things, right? I want to talk about there will be timestamps in the video, so you can go to the parts that you really like. I want to talk about kind of like the people that live in the Northlands, what the Northlands are environmentally, naturally, some of the political stuff going on, some of the customs and some stuff the people are doing to each other, with each other, and all that stuff. And then I want to kind of go into what adventures you can play in the Northlands, because there are adventures and encounters written specifically for the Northlands. I will go into that later in the video, but there's also a few adventure seats in the world book that I really like, and especially one that I just want to talk about because it could be a really funny adventure seat to just kind of mess with your players. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as you can see, I'm using the online map tool for this, which you can click the link in the description for, and you just get it because it's free for anybody with an internet connection, and you get the entire map of Midgard. You can scroll around, you can even search for places and everything, where they are if you don't find them in the books, and you can click political boundaries right here, which gives you like the political boundaries for the Northlands, but for any part of the world basically. So the first thing I want to talk about is what are the Northlands? Well, the Northlands are basically, it's the north of the world. So I'm going to state the obvious, it's freaking cold there, but it's not cold in a way that you carry a winter jacket around, put some gloves on and a winter cap on, and you're cold but you're okay. No, it's cold in a way that if you find yourself without a bonfire at the end of the day, you will die. If you find yourself without food at the end of the day, you will die. If you find yourself without protection at the end of the day from your family, your friends, your clan, you will die. If you find yourself without daylight and you don't have a bonfire, you will die if you don't have any means to protect yourself from trolls, from giants, from wolves, from boars, from all kinds of environmental freaking dangers. If you find yourself yelling from the top of your lungs in the wrong place, you will freaking die from an avalanche. That's how dangerous the Northlands are. Environmentally speaking, to me at least, environmentally speaking, naturally speaking, the Northlands are the most dangerous part of the Midgard campaign setting by far. There is so much danger. They talk about that in the world book, of course, but to summarize, there are giants fighting humans. There are a bunch of really wicked dwarves. I'll get into that later. There are humans fighting humans. There are dwarves fighting humans. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and that is the thing with the Northlands. The other parts of the world are mostly there are overarching hierarchies, if I can say it like that. There is a political system that reaches across an entire continent, like an entire section of the world, right? And they have a rule, and if you are born, you can be born into a royal family, and then you take over that part, and you are the new king and stuff like that, like really European-esque. But with the Northlands, it's completely different. The Northlanders, all of them, like even like the trolls and the trollkin and the giants and the dwarves and the humans and all the other races that live there, they go about, they kind of see hard work, honor, and raiding to be more important than bloodline or where you're from or who you know and all of that stuff. For them, there's nothing as black and white as like good and evil. They're more like you need to work hard, you need to have honor in some ways, and you need to be like ready to raid a village and to go all the way to the Southlands if need be, to go raid the Southlands, take some slaves home and get them to your clan or the settlement where you live. That's how the Northlanders look at choosing their kings, choosing their leaders, and leaders are mostly people who can just really fight really well, and there are like no overarching rulers, but there are a bunch of jarls who are basically like mayors of different sections of the Northlands. But even in one section there are differences between them, and there is sometimes war, but then they are they're talking about truces, and they're connecting, like they're making brotherhoods and all that stuff you see in shows like Vikings and stuff. Basically, that's what's going on in the Northlands. If you are not into raiding, if you're not into hard work, if you're not into hunting, and if you're not into all that stuff, you are basically considered a freaking coward, and you will be a traitor. You will be a traitor towards the people, your own and even your enemies, because the Northlanders have like more of this understanding with their enemies in a way that they are enemies and they kill each other and they raid each other, but they have honor in a way that's what they do. That's just what they do. That's just something that belongs in their world and in their life, and it's just how it works. Now, of course, there can be feuds and stuff like that. For example, there's a few things that's not done in the Northlands, and we're getting more into the customs and the way of living for them. There's a few things that you don't do, and one of them is take honor for maybe for somebody killed like a dire wolf or something, and you try to get away with the honor of like, I killed the dire wolf because the person who killed it died from killing the dire wolf, and you're like going with that honor, but somebody knows that you didn't do it, and that's like basically a crime in the Northlands, doing something like that. There are other feuds you can have. Screwing with the people that you are part of, that's basically not what you do in the Northlands, and then you got feuds. Now, there are different ways to go about feuds, right? So first thing you can do is give a bunch of silver rings to the person you have a feud with, and oftentimes that will solve the case right there. But if you are, let me just look at this real quick. If you are not willing to give a bunch of silver rings to the family that you might have hurt or did wrong, that family is actually, according to the customs, they have to inflict the same woes on you. And their friends and their clanmates and their family have to help that family in order to get back against you. That's how it works if you are not able to do it. There's also a way to, if you do somebody wrong, for example, you say you killed the boar or the wolf and you didn't, and you get the chance to apologize publicly. If you apologize publicly within 3 days, you are basically forgiven. If you don't do that, if you fail to do that, there could be a duel, and the duel is like kind of like the duels we see in the show Vikings, where you have where both duelists take up one weapon. They can carry 3 shields, they can carry basic armor, and they have to fight for 3 rounds. Every time a shield is broken, a round is over. If you throw away your shield, then a round is over. And between rounds, there's like a minute of rest, like a short rest kind of thing, catching your breath, second wind type of thing. And you fight again, and the fight lasts until one of the fighters basically yields, runs away, or is just unable to go on because somebody chopped their freaking leg off or their arms off. Now, you don't have to per se kill the person you're dueling, and that is really cool because in some parts of the Northlands it's just not okay in a duel to actually outright kill somebody, especially if they yield. If they're like, I surrender, you win, you don't chop off their head. That's not what you do. Then you are basically also a traitor. If you manage not to show up for a duel, you're considered an outlaw for like 1 year or 2 years, and we all know what happens to outlaws. They are sent into the wilderness, and the wilderness in the Northlands is not like the wilderness here in Belgium. It's way, 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 way more wicked. Now, a mechanic Kobold Press does really, really well for their books, for the Midgard campaign book, is the status system. And the Northlands, of course, has its own separate status system. For example, if you're made an outlaw, you get a -1 to your status, your Northlands status. Owing a were guild for a long time, if you don't pay off your debt, you will have a -1 to your status. By the way, that's a kind of debt you owe for your life. Maybe you've done another family wrong, and the other person is like, I'm not going to kill you as long as you pay me 20 silver rings or 15 silver swords or something like that. If you are unable to pay that for a long time, your status goes down. If you're wealthy and you owe were guilds, right, and you're not paying it, you get a -2. Because if you're wealthy and you're not paying it, you're being a bigger douche than when you're poor and you're not paying it, basically. If you use black magic, but also on the other hand, if you win a duel, you get a +1, because that is what the Northlanders are. The Northlanders are hunters, they are berserkers, they are fighters, they love blood, they love raiding, they love hurting each other, they love pain, and that's why winning a duel is just really cool. If you're a captain of a ship, if you killed your first dragon, you get a +2. But also if you killed your first troll, you killed your first giant, all of that stuff gives you new status. And the cool thing is there's a 0 at go. How do you pronounce it? Raving. If you go out and you go plunder others and you go murder others and everything, you don't get any status change, because that's what you are supposed to do. If you don't go and do that, you're considered a coward and an outlaw. So that's just this little table right here in the world book actually shows really well what the Northlands are all about. It's a really dangerous environment with really dangerous natural hazards, like not only like blizzards, but like there's wicked creatures there, and they have these hard customs that if you are not able to follow those customs, you're considered like a coward. They literally say it in the book like that, a coward, or even sometimes an outlaw. And to show that further, I just want to talk about a few places in the Northlands that I find really interesting, and a few customs from those places that I find really interesting, and that you can use in order to get your adventures in there. Maybe there's story hooks and everything, and there's so many good ideas to be found there. The first thing I want to talk about is Björnreich. Björnreich, that's the way I pronounce it. Björnreich is bear kingdom, basically. It is filled with bears, it is filled with northern bear folks, and it even has a king of bears. If you've been flipping through the monster books from Kobold Press, you will find the king of bears somewhere in there. It's actually something that exists, and it is full of bears, and it's a bear kingdom. Now, Björnheim, the city, is actually a metropolitan city, a big-ass metropolitan city filled with humans, but it is called Björnheim, Bear City. But the kingdom of the bears, Björnreich, is basically a kingdom with bears, and everybody's kind of welcome there, in a way that if you do not mess with the bears and you don't start a fight and you respect their customs, you can travel through it. you can go hunt there. You can do whatever you do there as long as you go by the rules of the bears within the Reich of the Bears, basically. Bjornheim, on the other hand, is a human city, a capital called Bears City, which lies right here in the border, which has a lot of salmon, like the fish salmon, that swims up there once a year, and it becomes this, and it's really cool, they describe this in the book, it becomes like this competition between fishermen, human fishermen, and bear folk fishermen, and they all go onto that part of the sea, and they try to catch as much fish as they can within like a week's time or whatever, and they even... Sometimes one person is like fishing in one spot and this bear dude comes here and he was like, I was fishing here yesterday, I got dibs on this place, this is my spot, and they start fighting and they start even like killing each other, because that's what Northlanders do. If they get in a fight, they just kill each other, right? So that's really cool. Like this salmon comes in every now and then, every year, and like these bear folk and the humans and like some other races start fishing there, and everybody starts fighting to catch the most fish, because fresh salmon is tasteful for humans as for bears alike. Now, another cool thing about Bjornheim is that it is defended. There's a defense system around the town that are bees, honeybees, like bees, stingers. They live up in the towers and the walls, and whenever somebody tries to invade the city, the bees scare them away. They start stinging them, and they start defending the armies that want to take over Bjornheim. And that's why Bjornheim has been a human city and has been the city like it is for many, many years. Another part I want to quickly talk about is the Black Expanse. Black Expanse, this is like the gray area. This is a gray area, has no social boundaries or whatever. This is basically what Game of Thrones is beyond the wall, right? So it is a desert of snow, and it is just the harshest of environments. It's really bad to live there. Still, there are a ton of people who decide to live there, especially giants. There's a lot of giants there. Frost giants who are capable of living in the cold, but there are actually like 2,000 humans or something like that living across this entire section, which is really weird, because if I was a human, I wouldn't live there. So if you've ever been to the mountains and were cold, do multiply that times 100, and that's the environment. And then there are a lot of giants and creatures that just hungry and out to kill you, and you decide to live there for some reason. It's really weird. Then there is Jotunheim, which is this part of the Northlands. Really interesting part, because this is nothing more than giant area. It has cities with giant structures and giant hierarchy and giant architecture and like giant halls, and everything is majestic and giant. And if you know anything about giants, they always build nice structures that are really big, and even sometimes way too big even for giants. So they're like, we're giants, whatever we build is going to be huge. Even if we're like this big, our building is going to be like this big. So that's basically Jotunheim. Nobody really messes with that, because giants, right? Here be giants. Nobody go into the giant territory. Another, also, if you go in there, they talk about how it is filled with magic. The area is, if you are into like ley lines and all that stuff, as you can see, there is a ley line flowing right here through the entire Northlands. There is a ley line, and there's a lot of ley line going right here, and the magic of the area is really, really strong. So if you're kind of like a wizard who's looking for empowering their spells or tapping into this ley line, Jotunheim is where you want to go, because all magic is more powerful there, and the area just blooms with magic. And that's why the giants were like, this is our spot, we're living there. Skadolm is something I want to quickly talk about, which I forgot where it was. Where was it? Skadolm. Where is it? Where is it? I know it was here somewhere. Where was it? I'm going to use the search function because I cannot find it. Skaldom. Here it is. Oh, there was it. Yeah, there it was. Okay, sure. Okay, sorry for the little blooper right there. Skadolm is basically an island. So something you need to know is there is a race of dwarves in Northlands. They call the Reaver Dwarves or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce them. Raving Dwarves of Reaver Dwarves, something. Really, really badass dwarves. They are the Vikings among Vikings. They are the ones that are the most tied in with the old wicked ways of raiding. They never have, like, they kill everybody they meet. If they're raiding, they don't leave anybody alive. They take whatever they want. They take slaves. They are the harshest among them. And there is a group of people that actually lives right here, near the dwarves and everything. And that is a peaceful island. It's actually, this island, they talk about it, is actually one of the islands there lives. Of course, there's still like Vikings and everything, but they just keep away from all of the other people, and they're more like socially awkward, like myself. No, they're more like introverts in a way, and they're like, this is our island, let's just stay here. And they are actually a peaceful island, but to the rest of the Northlands, they are cowards, like really big cowards and traitors. So everybody in the Northlands hates them more than their own enemies. So this is all stuff I think you should really know if you send your players through the Northlands. Then there is another place. There's two more places I want to talk about, and one really cool story hook. The first one I want to talk about is right here, Stanasgrad. Stanasgrad, this is also just a cool place to go for your players, because there are Reaver Dwarves living here, but they are the most neutral among Reaver Dwarves. So the most of them are like really vicious, but these are the ones that are kind of like, yeah, let's just be like a little bit neutral. So there are merchants who have the guts to actually sail all the way up here and go trade here, but most merchants don't go to the Northlands any further than this. And I think that is a really cool thing for you to use in your game when you are traveling, when you're taking your players to the Northlands. Have them go by ship to that place and have the merchants be like, we're not going any further. And if your players need to go, for example, to Jotunheim to meet like a giant, they're like, nope, I'm bringing you to Stannisgrad, and you take care of yourself from there. You see what you need to do to get to Jotunheim, but I'm turning around and I'm going back, and where's my gold pieces? Like, that really sets the tone to how the Northlands are this vicious thing that everybody is just afraid to visit. And that's just really something you can use, not per se as a quest seed or whatever, but just to set the tone for what the Northlands have in store for your players. And then the last thing is a really cool story hook, something that I want to talk about, is Wolfheim. Wolfheim is where the Reaver Dwarves live. Like, the badass Reaver Dwarves. The really, really, really badass Reaver Dwarves. They are tied to the old ways. They have like constant raids against trolls and giants. They raid the giants over here. That's an accident. They raid the giants over here. They raid the giants over here, and they do all that stuff because they think they shoot, right? So there are trolls. I'm looking for Trollheim, so there's trolls here, right? So they are constantly raiding trolls or constantly raiding giants, and that's what they do. They just think they need to do that. But something that's really cool with them is they actually have a pact. So they have a lot of slaves, right? And these slaves need to help with everything because they're slaves. And slaves in other sections of the Northlands, in some weird ways, become actually a part of the family they are enslaved to. It's really weird. I've always found like Stockholm Syndrome to be something really weird, but you take somebody as a slave, maybe 12-year-old, and by the time they're like 18, they just become a part of the family, and they just help around the farm. They completely forget who they were in the first place. But with with the Reaver Dwarves, they really use their slaves as a resource, basically. They send them out to hunt. But the dwarves, the Reaver Dwarves, have like this pact with the wolves, and they there is a rule that a slave cannot ever ever kill a wolf. Actually, nobody who comes into Wolfheim can kill a wolf. If you kill a wolf, even as self-defense, even seen by a dwarf as self-defense, you'll die. And this is where it gets interesting. I think sending your players, maybe your players want to go to the Northlands and they need to go to Jotunheim, right? So instead of going here, they find somebody crazy enough to drop them right around here on the mainland, right? And they're like, yeah, so we'll just travel through this Wolfheim. What is this Wolfheim all about? And this traveler is like, yeah, Wolfheim is a bad place. You want to take the long route, but you can also just take the short route through Wolfheim. And they're like, just go through Wolfheim. And you have your players accidentally kill a freaking wolf. And you have one of the Reaver dwarves see that they killed a wolf. That would be the start of like this entire... they have to get all the way through Wolfheim while Reaver dwarves are hunting them down. They're trying to kill them, and they have to hide, and they have to run, and they have to do all that stuff for weeks, for days, maybe for a freaking year in order to survive, or retreat, jump on a freaking slope, steal a ship, I don't care, and get out of there. And that's just a thing that I think is a really cool seed that I read in the Midgard world book. It's a small thing, just like one sentence, and that's the thing with Midgard, right? You read one sentence and then you're like, that's an entire adventure right there. That one sentence is an entire adventure. Pick up some monster books, put some dwarves in there, put some random encounters in there, random like geographical stuff, and you have an entire year of Dungeons and Dragons with your players running away from Reaver dwarves because they killed a freaking wolf while they were being attacked by those wolves. So it was freaking self-defense, and just a cool thing, just a cool idea for the freaking Northlands. And that is basically, geographically and politically speaking, what I think is the most interesting part of the Northlands. Now, there is way more than that, and I really hope they do their own world book someday with their own adventures and everything. But this is like the main part for me. There are the humans around here. There is the entire bear continent right here. The trolls and the trollkin live here. By the way, trolls are trolls and trollkin are a race in Midgard who are descendant from trolls, but they are more, they're like in between a troll and a human. They're smarter than trolls, and they are more, they settle down more in like settlements and everything. Then there is Wolfheim, where the badass dwarves are. There are the giants around here, and then there is like even a little peaceful island all around here, which is all cool stuff to talk about in the Northlands setting. And it's just stuff you need to know as a dungeon master before you send your players there, to need to know like how it works and how freaking dangerous the place actually is. Now, I want to talk about a few adventures and encounters you can play in the setting. This, ladies and gentlemen, fans of Midgard, fans of Kobold Press, is a jewel of a file to install on your computer. You can get it for free from a Facebook group, a Midgard and Kobold Press fans Facebook group, and somebody went through the trouble of taking all of the adventures written for 5th edition Midgard, 240 freaking pieces, and putting them together with the name, the level, the location, the country, the region, related adventures, and there are even the source, the book you can find it in, and even the freaking author. So if you, and you can like sorted by specific location. For example, if you sort it by level, you can say like, I want to play a level 5 adventure. Oh, there's a level 5 adventure right here. And what book is it? Oh, it's in this book. It is free for anybody, and it's constantly updated. So make sure to download it. Make sure to check it out if you want to play in the Midgard campaign setting. Now, like I said, I'm gonna sort this in region, which gives me all of the crossroads stuff, which are a ton. Dark Kingdoms, Dragon Empires, and here are the Northlands. Now, as you can see, there are some Northlands things, but some of these have a question mark behind them, which means Northlands? They're like sometimes written for the Northlands, but not like one specific location in Northlands are sometimes written just in the snow, and they're like, yeah, that's Northlands probably. So there's all kinds of reasons why there is a question mark. These ones are specifically Northlands. But the thing with the Northlands is, like I said at the beginning of the video, they are oftentimes, they find themselves scattered around different books. So all the Northland content for Kobold Press is scattered around different books. And the problem is, I have all Kobold Press books. I have all of them. Like, this is not my complete collection, but I have all, like 5th edition Kobold Press, Midgard, I have all of it. But not a lot of people have all of that, and they want to know what exactly to buy in order to play stuff. So with this, file, you can actually look it up, but I can already say I've played one of these, which is the Prepared 2, which is in the Prepared 2. If you do not know what Prepared is, it's a series of books, 2 books, with each have 12 kind of one-shots in them. That's why they're called Prepared. If you don't have anything prepared, you just take this, read it for 5 minutes, and you have yourself an encounter or mini adventure kind of thing, and you can fill an evening with some fun Dungeons and Dragons lighthearted role playing. And one of those is a Starry Breach. A Starry Breach is this one. It is mapped out. Everything is in there, as you can see, and it is a really cool encounter in the Northlands, and it actually, you can use it in any cold environment, but as you can see right here, they have a little box where they talk about how you can place it in your campaign, how you can put other creatures in there if you like, but also where it is set in the Northlands if you are playing in the Northlands. And this is north of Bjornheim, at the foot of the Reaching Mountains. So north of Bjornheim, at the north of Bjornheim, which is here at the foot of the Reaching Mountains, something like Bjornheim. It's probably, I don't know where the Reaching Mountains are, but it's probably north of Bjornheim, right? Oh, here, so it's here. Basically here where it takes place, so you know where the adventure kind of takes place, and you have it, and you know how to use it. But as you can see, there's more written for it than it sometimes seems. Sometimes it seems that the Northlands are completely ignored, but the content for the Northlands is kind of like scattered, and that's I really hope they, once they do a Kickstarter for the Northlands with like a world book. There's another one in this book. Let me see what it's called. It is in the Midgard sagas, and it's called Blood of a Falling Star, which I'm actually planning to run. Blood of a Falling Star, it is on page 81. Let me quickly look that up right here, which is this one. And the Midgard sagas are a bunch of loose adventures, sagas if you will, to play. I have a review of this also on my channel, to play in and around Midgard, different locations, and one of them is set in is an 8-level adventure set in the mountains west of Wolfheim. So the person who created this put a question mark behind Wolfheim, but I'm kind of leaning towards yes, it is in Wolfheim, which is basically, there is this legend that a falling star is actually somebody from another dimension or whatever, or another universe within the multiverse, that lands on Midgard and takes some people with them and then leave again. And one shooting star found its way into the Northlands, and somebody needs to go check it out. That's like really, really short what it is, but there is this alien creature that has something to do with it. Look at this alien creature. So as you can see, there is a bunch of adventures you can actually play in the Northlands. So I've seen a lot of people talk about, like, I want to take my players to the Northlands, but I don't really know what to do there, because there's no book for the Northlands, there's no adventures like specifically set in Northlands, but there actually are. They are just scattered around, and with this file you can actually find them quite easily. And that was my rough guide to the Northlands. If you like what I do for Kobold Press, for the Midgard campaign setting, make sure to click the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't only help me out as a YouTuber, it helps the community out to find the videos they need for their game, and it helps Kobold Press out to find the right audience for their campaign setting. Also, hit me up with a comment below if there's a certain part of Midgard you want me to talk about, because I will gladly look into it. And until next video, bye bye.